Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Wednesday the 6th of March 2019. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @DS_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. And really, it was a game of two halves, if I can use that cliche. We saw losses for the British pound against the US dollar. A similar story with the New Zealand dollar retreating against its US counterpart. But the biggest fall among the majors yesterday came from the Australian dollar, down by 0.71% against its US rival. I think that's taken the currency to a 16-month low, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll have more about why we saw those moves a little bit later on in the video. In terms of gains, it was the dollar that was gaining against the Chinese yuan, the Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso throughout yesterday's session. Dollar index for its part modestly better overnight, trading back towards that 97 handle. The move on the week perhaps tells the whole story. It's been creeping higher, up by around 0.83% over the last 7 days. Again, as we count down towards the non-farm payrolls data at the end of the week. Okay, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. Well, we've already had some interesting data out overnight. We had gross domestic product data out of Australia, quarter on quarter and year on year. This was for Q4 2018. And as you can see, we're in the red there. We'll look at the detail of that a bit more later on. To come then, the first of the new items on the day didn't kick off till 12 AM GMT, with mortgage applications data out of the US for the week of March the 1st. Then at 12:15, the first of the day's central banker speeches, this one from the Bank of England's Cunliffe. At 13:15 GMT, we'll cross over the Atlantic for ADP employment change data for February. Of course, these employment figures take on the added significance ahead of the non-farm payrolls due on Friday. 13:30 sees the release of trade balance data out of the US for December. We'll also have labour productivity and trade balance data out of Canada as well. The labour productivity for Q4, the trade balance data also for the month of December. And then we fast forward to 1500 GMT and the pick of the day's news, which is the Bank of Canada interest rate decision and rate statement, probably likely to leave rates unchanged. The Bank of Canada against the uncertain global growth background, but it'll be interesting to see what they say and what they indicate about rate changes going forward. At 1500, we'll have more Canadian data in the shape of the IV Purchasing Managers Index data for February. And 1530 sees the release in the US of EIA crude oil stocks inventory data for the week of February 25th. And then we pause until 1700. We'll have the second of the day's central banker speeches, or at least the second of the day's speeches in our time zone. The Fed's Williams speaking then, and he's followed at 1730 by the Bank of England Saunders. At 1900, it's the release of the Fed's Beige Book report, and then we pause again until 21:30 and cross back over the Pacific to Australia for the AIG Performance of Construction Index data for February. And to round off proceedings at 23:50, we'll have foreign investment in Japanese stocks and bonds for the week of March the 2nd. Okay then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. And first of all, Australian Q4 2018 GDP growth came in below forecasts at plus 0.2% quarter on quarter versus an estimate of 0.3% and the 0.3% seen in Q3. This was the weakest growth seen in the country since Q3 2016, and that explains the sharp downturn in the fortunes of the Australian dollar. Meanwhile, North Korea appears to be rebuilding a previously demolished missile launch site following the failed summit in Hanoi. Satellite data, or satellite images, are said to reveal, says the Financial Times. EU trade officials are in Washington today and will meet with their US counterparts to discuss auto tariffs. The EU's chief negotiator Cecilia Malmström has said that Europe will respond if Donald Trump imposes tariffs of up to 25% on the imports of vehicles and parts from the European Union. Remember, the European auto industry is being investigated as a potential threat to US national security, so some high stakes poker being played here. Okay then, food for thought and something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? Just how well are we doing in terms of moving towards a zero carbon future? These charts here show the 18 countries and how they've been performing in terms of reducing their carbon emissions. I've just highlighted a few areas of interest. First of all, the United States over here, falling but not perhaps falling fast enough, though interestingly the US experience is probably at least as good, if not better, than that seen in Germany. And then in terms of people that are greening, or countries that are greening, Spain's doing very well, Finland here, and perhaps the best of the bunch, Denmark, which of course has a very large wind farm industry, offshore wind farm industry, and generates a significant amount of green power. Plenty of interesting data in this graphic, sourced from a report from the World Economic Forum, where we're seeking that out if you want to know more about this. Okay, it's risk warning time. Please do take a moment to read this risk warning thoroughly, as trading in CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're unsure about those risks or the suitability of leveraged products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative. And as I say, do take the time to read this risk warning thoroughly, please. Thank you for your time today.